Hey everyone, this is Rob over here at BuneBape, and hope you're having an amazing day. Today I'll be bringing you all another old school video, and this time it's going to be on the ranged meta changes yet again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I made a full video on everything you're going to need to know for this video, and I'm going to leave it in the top right here. So whether you watched my video on the ranged meta changes, or you just like to keep up to date on the OSRS news site, you're going to know that the new bow that is going to be coming down the pipeline potentially, called the Bow of Faerdhinen, is going to be a beast, but they may actually be nerfing it, and we'll be talking about that here. In addition to that, we'll also be discussing the potential changes to the offhands that they discussed, as well as the nerfing of the Dragon Hunter Crossbow and whether it's a little bit too much. Lastly, interesting enough, we are actually going to be talking about some poll questions. So like Jagex has said before, they are planning on going through with this patch and it's going to be unpolled. But with that being said, they do want to get a little bit more feedback. So they actually have quite a few poll questions at the end of this that, while it may not directly say or dictate whether or not certain things get pushed through, it is going to give them a more informed decision. So we'll take a look at a few of those questions at the very end. So before we hop into this video, I gotta ask, if you enjoy the video, please make sure to leave a like. It really does help us out. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you're looking for a clan or a friends chat, I'll leave the info for that on the screen right now. You're free to come and go as you please. All we do is try to help out everyone that needs it. So with that being said, let's jump into the Bow of Faerdhinen changes. So here I wanted to jump in and start on the most significant changes to the bow, and that is going to be the changes you see here, where the corrupted version was going to have a 50% chance to save ammo instead of providing you unlimited charges. Now, the reason that they even went for a solution such as this is because a lot of the player base thought that maybe the bow would have been too strong and potentially overpowered if it had unlimited ammo once you corrupted it. That being said, after they implemented this potential change in the blog, apparently a lot of people like this even less than unlimited overpowered weapons, so they took it back and said they're simply going to make it a little bit more expensive to obtain. And by doing so, you need, instead of 1,000 to corrupt the bow, you need 2,000. So if you plan on swapping out the Blade of Faerdhinen for the bow, you're going to need twice as many crystal shards as you originally thought. And here's the next changes to the bow. But before we go any further into the video, just so you know, I'm not going to be going over every single change in this poll blog. I'm going to have the link in the description, and I'm going to have annotations in the video, so feel free to jump around or look below if you want all of the information you're looking for in particular. That being said, here are the rest of the changes to the Bow of Faerdhinen. They are planning on nerfing it. Like I said in the very beginning, it's unfortunate, but like they said, it may be a little too strong in certain spots. So what they decided to do was reduce the range strength by 6 and the accuracy by 10. You can see there that they, again, were planning on making it so 50% chance to reduce your ammo instead of unlimited charges, but they took that away pretty swiftly. So the next few points are actually talking about how to obtain the Bow of Faerdhinen, as well as the gauntlet. So if you don't know how to obtain the bow, it's actually going to be the same exact way that you obtain the Blade of Faerdhinen. Both come from the gauntlet or the corrupted gauntlet, with the corrupted gauntlet having a higher drop chance. That is going to be, of course, the ideal way to farm it, the same exact as the Blade of Faerdhinen is now. But instead, the new item is going to be an enhanced crystal weapon seed. So once you obtain the crystal weapon seed and 250 crystal shards, you can then sing that into either the Blade of Faerdhinen or the Bow of Faerdhinen. As far as I understand, that's exactly how you're going to be obtaining the bow. They both come from the same place and the same item. And of course, like I said earlier, it does cost a differing amount in order to corrupt them, being 1,000 and 2,000 respectively. I did find it kind of interesting that both of them ended up coming from the same place. It does make sense, as they go to explain here, that you will be combining it with the crystal armor most likely, and everything that you need for all of these items does come from the gauntlet already, so it does make sense that you're going to be there anyways. but it would have been nice to see it mix up and maybe get a few different pieces around Prifddinas and combine it all into the new bow, but there you have it. Either way, I'm not mad about it, I just wish it would have gone a different way. So that's going to be about it for the Bow of Faerdhinen, and let's move on to the offhand changes. Actually, before I forget, there are a couple dart changes that I wanted to bring up before we move on to the offhand. Of course, like I said earlier, I'm not going to be going over everything, but here you can read all of the changes. I mostly wanted to focus on the Amethyst Dart changes because I thought it was really interesting. A lot of people found that potentially there's a really good chance that there was going to be a flooding of the market when it comes to Amethyst Dart tips. And I totally agree. I think Amethyst is one of the more popular mining methods right now because it is so AFKable. It's actually one of the most AFK things in the game. So with that in mind, they actually reduced how much you craft in one go from 15 down all the way to 8, so nearly a halving. So that is definitely going to cut down how many people can sell. And also, one really cool thing is that they're potentially going to be expanding the Amethyst mining area because, like I said, and like they see here, the popularity has been increasing because it is so AFK. It's really easy to do on alt accounts or your main account while you're working on your alt and vice versa. On top of that, they're also talking about the viability of finding and using Dragon Darts. Of course, one of the more rare items of the game. They're extremely expensive. And if you plan on using them, you're going to have to spend a ton or get really lucky. So a lot of people complaining about that, and let's see if they add that to some drop tables in the near future. That's about all I wanted to touch on. So now let's jump on over to the offhands. So now we made it actually over to the offhands this time. There's actually quite a few things that are pretty interesting, or at least I think so. For the first one, is something I really downplayed in my first video, is the Armadillo Crossbow, and they're going to keep monitoring it as it goes, but a lot of people think it's actually going to be too strong in PvP with the new special attack. So if you don't know, the new special attack makes it so it gives you accuracy and it doubles the proc chance of your whatever bolt you plan on using, and a lot of people think it's going to be extremely good in PvP and are actually really worried about it. So it's going to be interesting to see if they keep it as it is. Like I said, I think in PVM it's pretty weak, but I could see it being a really decent KO weapon or something like that. Although obviously really expensive, but it could have a lot more viability in PvP because those bolt procs can make huge differences in PvP, where like I said, in PVM it isn't really the biggest impact. And so for the ranged offhands, a lot of people raised the question on why there was no D-shield buffs or anything like that to kind of bring them up to par, because I mean, black D-hide shields are definitely not a low level item as you may think, and they're definitely not on par with the other items that are getting buffed. So they're kind of left in the dust, and I think that's a lot of people's concern. Is it's like, why would you ever use a D-shield with these other items in the game that are the same level or even less? And I think that's a really good point to bring up. So they said that there's not making any changes now, but they're going to be monitoring the impact of the proposal. And honestly, I think that's kind of lame. I think they should buff the D-hide shields. They're pretty weak to begin with, so a few extra points of accuracy or strength would really be a big boon to this item that has kind of been forgotten. On top of that, they also go to talk about some people feeling as if the Dragon Hunter Crossbow nerfs. So if you don't know, they were planning on nerfing the Dragon Hunter Crossbow by 5% because they were increasing the offhand strength by so much. It would kind of offset how strong the Dragon Hunter would be at things like Vorkath or Brutal Black Dragons, anything like that. A lot of people feel like the nerf was a little bit too much, and now looking back on it, I kind of agree. I would hope that they would do something closer to a 3% nerf or a 2% nerf. 5% isn't that big a deal, and I'm definitely not going to lose any sleep over it, but the damage is one thing, but that combined with the loss of accuracy does make it quite a bit more annoying of a nerf, honestly, because you are getting more strength from the offhand, but you're not getting more accuracy. So either way, you're going to be missing more on dragons, which is kind of unfortunate because it is a very high level and sought after item. So while the nerf isn't too insane, it would be nice if they cut it back a little bit. So So like I said in the beginning of the video, the very last thing here is them saying that they are going to be polling a lot of these things that we're talking about. I'm going to be looking over the polls in just a second, but it's nice they do say that they have multiple questions that are going to be polled. And like I said earlier, they aren't going to be using those results to direct exactly what they do, but more give them a really well-informed answer when they do come down with all these proposals, because a lot of these proposals are controversial. No matter what they do, people are going to look at them poorly in some way or another, so they're just trying to make it so they make as few people mad as possible. That totally makes sense to me, so make sure to get your poll in if you care at all about the ranged meta. So that's going to be about it for the changes. If you only came to this video to see the changes, that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm going to be moving on to the poll changes, which is kind of a lot of what we just talked about, but I'm going to be going over the questions and seeing what the little nuances in the questions themselves. You can go vote on this, and you don't need to check out this part if you plan on voting. So just want to let you know, you don't have to stick around if you plan on voting, because you're going to see this pretty soon. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at all of these different polling questions. The first one, of course, they are talking about the new Amethyst Darts, and that they're going to have a requirement of 89 crafting and 90 fletching, which is pretty dang high, but it does make sense. They are better than rune darts, so the requirements do fit the item. It's just very high, so it's going to be a while before I can make those, that's for sure. Moving on to the next couple, they go on to talk about the crystal armor, crystal bow, and if you've seen these proposals before, then it's pretty much everything in the proposal. But one thing I did find really funny, honestly, is that none of these questions pertain to the blowpipe, and I think that's really smart of them, because they are going to get a lot of negative and controversial feedback. So I think it's a really good idea for them to just say, hey, we're just going to try and get as much information from the vast majority of people, and I think they feel like they've already gotten all the answers they need as far as the blowpipe goes, so I think it was good to not include that, honestly. And one thing that is really awesome is there's a poll up for the potential different looks of the new Bow of Faerdhinen, as you can see here. So here we have the bow. There are 4 different options, and honestly I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks different enough to the crystal bow that it's not going to be confused, but let me know which one you think is the coolest one. Honestly, I don't like number 4 because it reminds me of Ezreal from League of Legends, but all the others look pretty cool. My personal favorite I think is going to be number 2, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. Overall, I think the design is awesome, and I'm actually really excited to do the gauntlet because now I can get 2 potential best in slot items. So moving on to these last final 5 poll questions, a lot of them are pertaining to what we talked about earlier with the offhand weapons, and I think you already know how I feel about this. I do think that they should kind of cool down on the Dragon Hunter Crossbow rebalance with all of these. I think all of these should go through, but they should just lessen how much they're nerfing the Dragon Hunter. Along with that, they are asking the poll question number 9, which I think is probably one of the more interesting ones, although I don't participate in PvP very often, if at all. It is really interesting to see the Armadillo Crossbow being so heavily debated among the PvPers, and whether or not it is going to be good, too good, or just straight up busted. So it's going to be really interesting to get all of your feedback. Let me know down in the comments below if you PvP, or if not, if you think the special attack from the Armadillo Crossbow is going to be a worthy contender for your special attack bar. Personally, it's not my favorite in PvM. I'm going to have to see how it performs though, and in PvP it could definitely be a very strong contender. And the last thing, not too interesting, ending on kind of a flat note, but the Shazian armor changes. Honestly, I think that's a great change, especially since they're nerfing the blowpipe. Overall, that's going to be about it for these notes and this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and it kept you informed on the possible ranged meta changes. Let me know what you think about everything you saw in this video down below. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to check out all of our social media, and I've been streaming a lot over on Twitch. If you want to see my ugly mug, I'll be over there. I just got the webcam set up, so you know we're moving up in the world. You can check that out down in the description below. Of course, like I said in the beginning, you can join our clan if you just want a place to hang out, or you can join our friends chat if you don't want to make the commitment. So that's going to be about it for the video. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all very soon.